How's it going, guys? We are back for part 2 of our Civilization game. It's been a rough ride so far, but we're still moving along pretty well considering this is still the early game. Got some barbarians around one of our cities. Pretty average in Civ. Actually, I think this might turn out to be a pretty fun game. With two neighbors relatively close by, it looks likely that we'll see some conflict. Getting our settler spam going, have our second one out the gate. This is where we're going to try to go down there and forward settle Japan. Let's hope we make it in time. Because if we don't make it in time, we might have to, we'll either have to live with the city they have or settle a suboptimal city somewhere nearby. But our empire's starting to shape up. We have our fourth settler on the build. That's going to go up there by England. Having at least one other city between your capital and the closest neighbor is pretty good for defense. You can run into situations where an AI will just settle a city right next to your capital if you're not on these early settlements. So it's really good to be proactive about where you settle and how quickly you get it done. We got our settler across the river, continuing to attack the barbarian camp. Things are looking up. I haven't decided yet at this point in the game how I want to end the game. Science would probably be the easiest, although with there being only 3 other players on the map, domination victory isn't out of the question. Sometimes domination victory can be a little bit too difficult to perform if you're running like a really huge map and you have 10, 15 civilizations on it. That makes it to where getting every capital is just way more work than it would be. Oh, and Japan settled. Right next to our expand, too. That's not great for us, but we can probably still salvage this. Pretty sure at this point what I'm looking at is the copper up there. The copper will be a nice luxury resource. We also already have the technology to harvest it, which is good for us. So, again, just some early game stuff. I've been thinking about where I want the series to go, where I want MTA misplays to go, where I want the general direction of the channel to go, and I'm thinking that it's just going to be basically a gaming channel. I play a lot of video games. I don't play as much as I used to. There were about 4 years where I really just didn't have time for video games. So, I mean, one of the nice things about having a lot more free time is that you can go back and play these games. I checked out Morrowind, which the Morrowind mod I'm talking about is actually Skyrim Home of the Nords, and that was actually a pretty fun little mod. A lot of interesting creatures. You get to play a little bit in the Reach, which is far away from Morrowind's home map, but still interesting to see what the mod team envisioned Skyrim's holds to look like during Morrowind's time. Honestly, I think it does some things better than Skyrim, although I really do like Skyrim for just how much of a glitchy mess it can be at times. Like, the first time I played through the game, I got to level 17, hadn't figured out how to use the perk system yet, but was already at Skuldafn and about to challenge Alduin, and I realized I had 16 perks in reserve that I hadn't used. So I'm a big fan. I think I got through with that in I think it within the course of a day. Because I think I got it for Christmas around 2011. But I mean, I'm a big fan of all RPGs, so it's to be a little bit expected. Right here, I realize that I've been playing the Inca without realizing what their tile improvement actually does specifically. So I'm looking for it here and find it. You get the one food from it being a farm, and then you get one food for every nearby mountain tile. As I mentioned in the last part, that is incredibly powerful for a unique tile improvement. I'd wager that it's probably one of the most powerful tile improvements in the game. I mean, it is a bit situational because you can't always be guaranteed that you're going to get mountains. But when you do get mountains, you're going to have a lot of food to work with. And as you probably guessed by now, my playstyle in Civ is grow a couple really big, really powerful cities. That's why from all the gameplay footage I've seen of Civ 6, I don't think I'd actually be as fond of it, because I'm not... Don't get me wrong, I do like a lot of turn-based and even real-time strategy games, but I'm not as fond of like the Empire Sprawl, Empire management side of things, where they're just microing 100 different cities. Like, I can micro 4, 5, 6 cities pretty well, but after that, it just becomes not worth it. That was an English settler. Am I gonna get cooked on the copper too? I hope I don't. I guess I probably should have just settled there. But I did want the river. You get a few unique buildings from being settled on a river. Just waiting here to see what the AI does. I'm pretty sure that we're going to lose that city spot. And over off to the side there, you can see a bunch of Japanese warriors. That's a bad sign. We don't have a military yet. We had a stronger military, but we've lost 2 units at this point, which is not great for us. Yeah, so just looking at the current state of the game, our 2 neighbors are trying to hem us in. We're having to move around settlers to find better places to settle. Looking at things that wind down there is probably our best option left on the table. So that's probably where we're going to go. There's also marble down there, but the marble seems like it will be a bit of a trap for us, because we already have it. And I may not remember that I have it at this point, but we do have it eventually in our capital. There is our third settler, 4th city. Going off to get the duplicate sugar. At this point, a lot of our best city locations have been taken by us or taken by the AI, so we're a little out of options, but we will have at least the 4 unique luxuries that we need to keep our empire afloat for the early game. Of course, that means we're also going to have to spend a little bit more time investing in things like coliseums and zoos, so it would have been nicer if we could have got a few more luxuries out of our settling, but sometimes it can't be helped. So we're moving our worker down to hopefully start working on getting our wine up as quickly as possible. That should enable us to continue settling and not have as noticeable of a drop in happiness, because we're going to lose 8 happiness over the next 2 settles. So the 7 that we have currently isn't going to last. As you can see, my capital, I'm starting to train up some military units. At this point in the game, I'm a little worried that Japan might just attack me. We know at this point that they covet lands that we own. That's generally an inevitability on higher difficulties where you're settling anywhere near the AI. They decide that your lands should be theirs, and honestly, I feel like Tokyo should be mine, but this kind of disagreement is natural in Civ 5, so I think we'll be able to get by. If not, we'll try to go and burn down Tokyo. Because this game does seem like we're gonna have to get our hands dirty. Because I don't see any way to live peacefully with 2 neighbors this close to me. I mean, honestly, living next to England, things probably weren't going to go peacefully. Because at some point, those longbowmen are going to come out, and even in hands as unskilled as the AIs in controlling them, longbowmen are scary units. 3 tiles range damage is something that doesn't come along until artillery in this game, and England gets it at crossbowmen. That's bad for us. That's really bad for us. But we might be able to get in before they can get their longbowmen, which at this point doesn't seem as likely, but we still could do it conceivably. Or we can do it after they get their longbowmen and just do it by having a higher tech level than them. Like, if we can get our science a lot higher, we can actually just rush towards artillery, and that should be able to take care of the longbowmen. Now, we want a city there to protect our capital, but thanks to England and their god-awful settling, we have to settle 1 tile away from where we would want to. And Japan is really looking aggressive there. They have the highest military in the game. That's not good. Yeah, things are looking a little bad for us. But I don't think this game is unrecoverable. I'm pretty sure that we can still win. Huh? And Japan wants us to stop settling near them. We're gonna pretend to be friends with Oda for the moment. But say every little bit of disposition we can get with him delays his eventual invasion of us. Which he will invade us. It seems like it's an inevitability at this point. Yeah, starting to move up the tech tree. Gonna try to get out national colleges as quickly as possible. Although with the threat of war looming, we probably won't get them out as quickly as we'd like to. Our 4th settle is a little hampered in. But if we do get to go to war, we can use a great general to actually take that cotton up there, which will give it its own unique luxury. Because right now it's benefiting off the back of the capital, which has 3 luxuries. Now that we got the truffles up, we can start improving our civilization by building some tile improvements. One of the early mistakes that I really didn't get was I would generally build tile improvements far slower than I needed to. And I still do that to some degree because I started out a little bit in the Wonder Spam camp, where you just basically get a worker or two out and then you go around cutting down forests to get production so that you can build out these powerful wonders as quickly as possible. And I mean, that can be beneficial sometimes, but it's far safer and far more consistent to actually just build up proper tile improvements in all your cities than trying to rely on getting a good wonder here, a good wonder there. Especially against the AI, because they can hammer out most of these early game wonders on the upper difficulties with little to no effort. So yeah, just doing a bit of surveying of our empire. It's starting to look pretty good. We have all our cities down. Gonna try to grow them to be a little bit better. Because we're in tradition, we'll get free culture building in each of these cities. So for the capital, I don't remember if I built a monument first, but if I built a monument, we'll get a amphitheater in the capital, but all the other ones will get monuments, which means they'll have a base to culture. Yeah, so we're just trying to develop our land, thinking about how things are going to go. I honestly think that we're going to do okay. Don't know yet, because sometimes the AI gets a little bit tricky with some of the things they do, but gonna give it a go, see where it goes. A lot of going there, but about to say, these Civ games, I'm generally playing them silently, so having things to talk about while I'm doing things is a little outside of my wheelhouse. But honestly, thinking about these things probably will help me become a better Civ player in the end, because get a little bit more look at how thought process go into actually setting up the empire and managing its resources. Like, should we actually build more military units, or should we just continue trying to rush science? It's a delicate balance for us, and at this point, I'm pretty sure Japan's going to invade us at some point. I am 99% sure that those units on our border are not for defense. I'm pretty sure those units are for us. Japan wants to take probably our coastal city, but probably our inland city next to the capital as well. We'll probably be able to stop him if he does. But it's a little risky. Generally with the AI and the AI combat, the easiest way to stop them from actually attacking you is to target their melee units. Target their melee units would be the best, I think. Because they can't actually capture the city without a melee unit. We can't capture a city without a melee unit too, but we can always see the direction that the invasion's going and build another melee unit, because ours are starting to get a little weaker. The AI sometimes won't do that, or sometimes they'll leave back some melee units to defend their capital, or they'll just have somewhere else defending. So they tend to stretch themselves a little more thin than, they tend to be a little more defensive than players, but they tend not to have as good of army composition as actual players do. Of course, that being said, we could build a greedy attack army too. About to say, Attila the Hun is probably the best greedy attack civ that I've played as, because you can just run around with a bunch of battering rams and pretty much nothing else, and you can still take cities as long as you can get into the city. Yeah. Attila's just a good civ. We might play him at some point. We might not. Just all depends on things, because if I do play more civ games in the future, I'll probably do them random like I did this one. Well, I didn't actually choose the civilization I was going to play. I just hit play with random leader, random map, random settings. I think that keeps the game a little more interesting. Of course, it means I really don't know how to prepare for the situation, but I do think it'll keep the game a little more interesting. So we are continuing to build up in case there's an invasion, which there probably will be. I'm about to say, I don't think the invasion will happen in this episode, but there will be an invasion, and it will likely catch us off guard. Now, one of the little annoying things about Civilization is, as the game goes on, the turns just start to get longer and longer. So while we did make pretty good time in these first 2 episodes, getting a little over 60, 70 turns in, it definitely won't be the case in later entries into the series, just because when you have the full map revealed, when the computer is trying to calculate what every person on the map is doing and what every barbarian's doing, and you have such a wider field of vision, the game just slows down. And it's also because at that point in the game, pretty much every civ that's still alive and relevant in the game has such massive armies that the processing's just a little bit harder to get through. And because it's also a turn-based game, every unit moves, so you have situations where in a turn you'll have to use you'll have to move or give orders to 10, 15 units at a time. And if you're at war, that gets especially difficult. In peace, it's not so bad, because you can actually just tell them all to fortify. And while they're fortified, you don't actually have to give them orders. Like, I have a few fortified units around, like I think I have a warrior near the capital that's fortified. But yeah, this has been the second part in our little game of Civilization here. We're not quite done yet. We have about 7 minutes left, but I just thought I'd spend a little bit of time talking about non-Civ things for a second. As you guys can tell, my channel's a little newer, and I'm still trying to get a foothold on what kind of content I want to make. Honestly, for the moment, I'm just playing games that I enjoy, and Magic the Gathering is probably going to be a big part of that for a little while. Civ will probably be a part of that for a while. And I'll also be trying some new things here. I want to play a couple of RPGs, but recording them is a bit of a hassle, and even the ones that I have on hand that I would want to record, I just know so thoroughly that I'm not sure whether or not it would actually be entertaining to watch. I could do a series on. I could probably do a series on Morrowind. I don't have Skyrim for the PC, so I need to get some equipment to do Skyrim. I have Oblivion for the PC, but I haven't actually tried recording it, so I don't know if that would work. But in all three cases, I played the games through multiple occasions, and then I've also played the games multiple occasions using various glitches to see how things work, and honestly, I could probably beat most of the games in pretty short order. But I just don't know if it'd actually be entertaining to watch. And that's one of the things that I do want to do here on the channel. I mean, the channel will mainly be for games that I enjoy and games that I want to show and highlight, but I also want you guys who are watching to feel like you've enjoyed the show, because if you didn't enjoy the show, that means the content's not really up to scruff as far as the standard that I want to uphold. And I don't think I'm the funniest person in the world, but I can be funny at times. I know that may not come out, especially through series like this, like Civ and Magic, where I'm speaking more from a technical side because I know how to play the games and I know what's happening, and I just want to really explain to people who haven't played the games what makes them great and why they should play them. But we'll definitely try out some different stuff here, and I can see the channel going on for a while. I can see it going on for a shorter amount of time. It just depends really on how much you guys enjoy it and how much free time I have and how much my hardware actually holds up. I talked about this before, but I'm working on saving up for a new computer, and if I get a new computer, I'll be able to play some different games. I'll be able to record more. Also, hopefully, be able to get a little bit better at editing. The editing software I use right now is Shotcut, and it's a decent software. It's pretty reliable. It's a little slow on rendering, but unlike the other two editing software that I tried out, I actually understood how to use this one fairly easily. So I think it's a good place for beginners in editing to actually start. Well, we have about 2 minutes left in the episode. Looking back at the game here, I think I think we're in a pretty good place. Science is getting back up there. This part of the video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Please remember to like, leave a subscribe, and check back in on occasion. Obviously, I'll be making new and different content, and I want you guys to see it. Should be a fun ride, and looking forward to all the games that I'm going to play with you guys. Bye for now.